yeah, that's the thing about like if you're living, if you haven't worked through your trauma, or if you haven't sorted through that breakup with your girlfriend, or that divorce with your wife, or ex, whatever, or
Yeah,
your terrible relationship with your parents or whatever. If you haven't done that, you can write, you could use a story and put it to the side, right? And get it
yeah,
out there. And sometimes that
yeah.
becomes therapy. And like one of the things I did when I was at film school was the first thing I did was I was going to write this.
Oh, yeah,
I was going to go there to make a feature film. That was it. I was going to go there to make a feature film. Otherwise, I was never going to go there.
yeah.
And so I found out
Right,
that I
right.
could do that as
You had
part
a
of my
goal.
third year. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I got there and did my story, wrote it, called The Circle, which we turned into a
Yeah.
comic book later. But it was my revenge story. It was my,
Mm.
it seems horrible to say that in a sense, but weird to say that. But I broke myself into four different people, not
Right.
one
Yeah, you
single
used
person, but four different
through the
people,
characters.
because it meant
Mm.
that, so that meant that the different characters could behave at different, um, aspects of my
Yeah.
thoughts at that point.
Yep.
And
Exactly.
I could use that, and I could go there, and this guy could say this, and the way dialogue works is interesting because if you have a character agreeing with the other character, that's an echo chamber, right? So you don't want your characters to have an echo chamber. You want them to be able
No,
to bounce off each other and
different. Yeah, yeah.
disagree,
That's it. That's it.
and
Yeah.
even come to fisticuffs over an idea or what they've done wrong
Mm.
or what they've done, whatever they disagree over, and
Yeah,
then
yeah,
walk
yeah.
away.
Totally.
And then, and this is the thing, a difference about males, and that's totally different about males to females. It's very minute, is that
Mm.
we all get into a fisticuff or a huge argument, the next day we're fine,
Mm.
right? But when you have female characters, female people, females in a relationship, especially, it'll go on and week on and month on. They'll remind you weeks later. Guys will just go, get her over with. What did you say to me? This? Okay. I'm not happy with that. Sort it out. Okay, cool. Let's go.
We are
The
different
next day
people
we're
for
best
sure.
mates. Yeah. And that's
Yeah.
that's kind of like that's the way we're built up at. And so one of the things was that being able to do that meant that I could put that aside. And man, that was great. Emotionally,
Mm.
I felt so relaxed. I felt like
Yeah.
I fixed
Yeah.
I had taken off those wet blankets that's been sitting on my back for maybe
Yeah.
about 20, 30, 25 years, right?
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
just sat there, and nobody talking to me had done it. Nobody telling me how to
Mm.
deal with it had done it. No therapy had done it. But the fact that I was able to put it into a movie, write into a script,
You
put it
know,
into a movie, turn it into a comic book, had made me feel good. It made me just like,
sometimes,
I can now,
yeah.
yeah,
As you say that, I'm thinking of the writer Tom King, right? So there's some
yeah,
criticism online about that his comics are too full of his own pain, right? That he's using it as therapy. So the line between what's on the page that you
yeah,
see and his own experience is too close or too thin. And I don't know. I mean, I've read. I really like him as a writer. I think some of his Batman work wasn't very good, but I'll get to that.
mm,
But I really like him as a writer because he challenges you. It's
sure,
I was going to say he's difficult to read, but he demands more of you when you're reading one of his
mm,
comics, like Human Target, or if anyone out there
sure,
wants to read a great uh, Tom King comic, read the Mr. Miracle series because that was just completely outstanding. My son and I loved it.
mm,
It really got to the heart of the character, and he did it in his own distinctive style.
yeah,
Heroes in Crisis is perhaps closer to some of the pain he might have experienced. But I think he worked for the American Secret Service in Iraq or
yeah.
something like that.
He was a CIA. It's
CIA, yeah.
always like he always
So,
brings that up. CIA,
so
CIA. I was
yeah.
in the CIA. I was in the
So,
CIA. Yeah.
so he did this series called Heroes in Crisis, where because of all the traumatic things that the DC characters have
Mm,
done, they all have to go through, like a mental health farm. And it was, I mean, I kind of liked it, funnily enough, but like,
yeah.
you know, I don't know whether I agree with the criticism or not of
Mm,
how close to the line he got, but you've got to use what you have. You've got to use what you have.
right.
When you get a perspective and distance from it, then it becomes useful creatively to you. I mean,
Mm,
in his Batman work, right? He did the Batman, the current Batman title. He did issue 1 to 85 or something, And
Yeah.
the first 50 issues are really good. Like he hasn't quite
Yeah.
reached the sophisticated storytelling that he's now doing. It's just straight ahead superhero stuff. He's just cutting his teeth on DC characters. He'd been at Marvel before, I think, doing Vision or Avengers, whatever. But it's really good stuff. It's really satisfying. And then they lead up to the wedding of Batman and Catwoman. And it's a massive bait and switch. And it really pissed me off and lots of characters. And they lost 20, 30,000 readers because I think at that point, the sort of...
That's $300,000.
The stylistic concerns that I think he had his images in his head of Batman and Catwoman falling. And I think the sort of the artifice of it, the pride and coming up with this image kind of overwhelmed the story. And I don't know whether he intended to have Batman and Catwoman married at all, but like it felt like such a betrayal to the reader.
Yeah.
Now, as an artist, you're not necessarily there to always reward the reader. You're there to challenge you. You're there for yourself or whatever. But then the subsequent issues were terrible. Like what's happened now is in comics is that at that time Batman was being published bi-weekly, right? In the old days, back in the 90s and 80s or whatever, if a comic's being published bi-weekly, it must be super successful. No, today it's the opposite. If you're publishing a bi-weekly comic, it means the comic is tanking, because if you just put it out monthly, you wouldn't make enough money. It'd be cancelled. So if it's published bi-weekly, it means that the comic is struggling, and they rely on obsessive compulsive fans to keep buying it. But this means
that's where I have a problem with it.
It's not possible as a creative person to crank out that much product and have it be good. So they publish all these fill-in issues in Tom King's run. The City of Bane is a total mess. It's terrible. But unlike in the 70s or 80s, they don't announce it's a fill-in issue. You just read it with no announcement and trying to make sense of the story. It was a total confusing mess. And I thought, okay, well, no, it wouldn't matter what you think of Tom King. DC has let him down there because commerce has pushed the art into a box, and he's had to turn out the stuff which he probably knows is not very good. But then he'd come up with a very good issue, but then it'd be a bad one, because every 2 weeks, imagine turning a strip around for a high-profile property like Batman every 2 weeks, and you're doing other stuff. It's not possible to have the quality. You know?
I mean, so I'm working on about 5 titles at the moment, and that's stressful enough, right? But I have my own pace. I'm at my own pace. I have like a whole, almost like until September before my first issue of a comic comes out. And in that time, I'm talking with my artists and saying, oh, I need to change this, or I need to change that. And and I can't, the whole pressure of doing a weekly must be freaking, you're just sitting there at a typewriter, or you're doing that all along, and you're like going, this is going to work, right? I hope this works. I hope this works.
It goes to like, it's like the conditions of capitalism, right? Like capitalism is about making money and making it in a way that costs you the least. So this is why shoes are manufactured in Thailand or whatever, which is immoral. But anyway, so like if you're an alternative comics artist like Peter Bagg, you just put out a comic when you want and when you know it's good. But DC demands product because like we all love comic books, right? And we buy them because we respond to them from our own experience, or because we want to support the creative effort and so on. But to Warner Brothers, comics are a lost leader to sell underpants. They're advertising for movies. They're advertising for movies. No, I mean, like you like millions of people go see these movies, and DC's are less successful than Marvel's. No one then goes and reads the comic books. They're vaguely aware that they come from comic books, but the great hope, what they're doing now is they're getting all these film directors, because I follow this in DC, to write the comic books, because they're hoping that there'll be a bounce, that people will go, oh yeah, that film director, now he's writing this comic book, I'll go look at it. A, it's not happening, and B, these guys can't write. They can't write.
No,
it's really, really terrible stuff. So whenever they say so-and-so film director or Netflix guy is coming to write Batman or Flash or whatever, I just groan, because I know it's not going to, and it's never very good, because they can't write comic books.
Well, there is. I mean, that's why I think like them getting rid of the old heads, as I'd say, people who've been doing it as a career for 20, 30 years. That's why, like, I was looking at like the other day, I posted about a Dan Abnett book from about 20 years ago.
Dan Abnett?
Still writing.
Yeah.
And And I look
Chuck
at that and I
Dixon,
go,
like
man,
that.
yeah. And so I'm looking at that, I'm going, why did you guys don't put these guys in charge, right? Put these old heads in charge, and then
Well, let's give them some work.
because give them some work, because they know what they're doing. They've been at this through the grind for so many years, and they have a better idea of how this works, character-wise, story-wise, the world they're building. I mean, I was, like I said, I was reading 2000 AD just before, to do with, oh gosh, Judge, the Emerald Isle. There's a story about the Emerald Isle, which is Ireland, as part of the Mega City 1 series. And there's, you know,
I love that.
I think it's Mark.
Judge Dredd,
Yeah, Mark Carroll.
Fantastic stuff.
Yeah, so it's either Mark Carroll, someone who's writing it, or Bruce Carroll, I think it is. And he brings in the whole Irish side of it, but he puts it with a you know, a defector Soviet Union judge, soft block judge, and with Judge Dredd, and you have the story. And I look at all the thing there, I'm going, Mega City 1 is so humongous. The whole cursed
Mega City 2 as well.
All this,
yeah,
and cities, and the city street, the cities, the street names, the blocks, the wars they've had on all that. Underground. Now I'm looking at the Undercity, you know, the Goblin King and all that. And then they're talking about like the Cursed Earth.
Cursed Earth. That was one of my favorite sagas to read when I was a teenager. It was really great.
The best. That was what really got me with Unjust Dread.
That was fantastic.
And so the other thing. Yeah, so the other thing about that was that, I mean, about these 2000 AD is they have a singular world that is the whole Earth, right? But they have the space and all that Mars colonies and all the other colonies, and you have to judge death wherever they come from, right? Can't remember right now, but I mean, and so you've got to have, and then you look at it, and then you go, there is all these old heads that are a part of the team that's on this, and because these guys have been working on this since 1972, maybe.
2000 AD, 77, 1977.
Yes.
Yeah.
You sure?
Yeah. Because I bought the first edition when I was a kid.
Okay.
I still got the space spinner.
Yeah. So, so I think I actually have that somewhere. I have number 6 somewhere. So Prog 6. So the whole thing is that they have this entire universe they've built up. Now imagine the guy who knows everything about that isn't there no more. So I'm sure they've got a huge map, right? There's a huge rollout map of the entire city block that they've added to each time somebody's come up with a story. They've said, okay, this goes here, right? This block is here now because I've written a story here. Okay, get it over here, draw it in, mate. So we can, when the new writer comes in, we can say, this is what the map looks like. So don't get lost and don't get it wrong. And if you have any questions, go see that guy. And the problem here is it seems like they don't have that guy to go to, right? To tell them what is missing there. And, you know, I had I was reading, something red, Durham Red, the vampire Strom Dog, and it goes hashtag not all vampires, and I'm like, somebody should have just said, we don't use that language in 2000 AD. Right, we don't do hashtags in 2000 AD. It just broke me out of it. It was just a single story, but it was like a part of a huge, you know, Durham Red series, and I'm like, she never would say that because she would probably punch you in the face before she even said that, you know. And but it's just that sort of thing. You got to have someone there who's been there, who knows the character. It's like Garth Ennis writing Punisher.
Yeah.
Right. Garth Ennis writing Punisher. He knows Punisher inside out so hard that you could tell him what, and he would tell you what is wrong. You know.
Yeah.
According to what is laid down.
Yeah.
Because he's done it for so long. And I think the loss of these old heads because you want to bring in new, and I think it's the cheap thing, the new cheap writers.
Oh, yeah. Then it's like that. Any workforce is like that. I was going to say, like, you know, if you ageism is a thing. Less so. I mean, I work in government,
Oh yeah,
so it's less of a thing. But like in a sort of a youth industry, which superhero comics are youth industry. Like they're always recycling.
yeah,
Like from say, Batman started in 1939 with Detective 27, and a guy in New Zealand actually has a copy. I must meet this man and go see it.
yeah,
From then till probably 1967, 68, the writers in DC Comics were basically the same, right?
yeah,
Then they said to DC Comics, we're going to form a union because we want medical benefits, because most of them are freelancers and stuff. And DC at the time said no, and then a whole lot of younger writers came in, right?
yeah,
But this happens more and more now as they try to get some revenue from comics again, and there's nothing wrong with expanding the audience. Like I support,
oh yeah.
diverse communities
I
and
mean,
like PT or whatever. I mean, we want more people reading comics, but it's like,
yeah,
there's so few people reading comics. Everybody happy? Like I was going to say, with Superman, they've got the new kid guy who's Superman now, right? But they've got, I think it's Action. They've kept Kal-El for older people, more used to the traditional character, and for Superman, they've got that's the way to do it. One for you, one for them. Like keep it going. But I think you want quality, right? You don't want to do a new take on a character just because you think a particular audience will pick it up, because that audience now, and particularly with social media and so on, will say that's inauthentic. You're just trying to make money out of us. They want a character that represents their community, that's actually real or grounded in their experience, right? So you want and you want a satisfying story with it. You don't just want to do, I don't know when I think.
Well, you don't want a token.
You know,
you don't want a token story.
Like say you're you're part of the LGBT community, and some straight writer creates a gay character and it just rings untrue and it's tinny and he's done no research, he hasn't spoken to any LGBT people. Like, what the hell, man? That's worse than nothing. Get some LGBT writer, or at least do some research and do a good story, because otherwise it's just tokenism, and that's terrible.
So the way I would have done it, right? My brain would have done it. I would have introduced a character way the side character that we're going to bring in as like a interest, right?
Because you've already imagined a universe, right? You've already imagined a universe.
Yeah, so I would have said, okay, so 10 stories back, I'm going to see this character coming in, and then I'm going to have him, have a situation, like say Superboy comes in, because this is what we're talking about, right? So then Superboy is in the middle of a fight, and this character, I haven't read the story, but this is what I would write if I was writing it, right? So I would say, well, this character story, we've got him to like this character. Over time, he's just a side character. He's reading about, Superboy now. It's like, man, I'd love to meet him one day, and he's just carrying on with his life, with his family, whatever, with his mates. Side story, one page every now and then we see him. 10 issues down, we see old Superboy there in the middle of a fight, and our little, guy here is getting hurt, or there has been, cars come falling on him. Superboy comes up there, he goes, whatever. He goes, okay, see you later, buddy. Off we go. He goes away, and he's in hospital, comes in and goes, oh, hey, so I'm visiting all these other guys in the hospital that got injured at that time. So I just thought I'd pop in and say hello. Okay, cool. All right. Hey, can we chat sometime, go for a coffee? Okay, cool. Because that's how fucking relationships work. Excuse my language. Because that's how people get into a relationship. They don't just only go, we're here, mate, let's go. Because that's unreal, because I don't know about this character. You've never told me who this character is. Now you're forcing it down my throat.
We just our internet culture, YouTube, social media, TikTok and stuff, it's just driven a complete lack of attention. The attention span now, you read a comic book now. So if you read something like this is the first New Look Batman, right? June 1964. It's dense. There's lots of words, right?
Yeah.
Now, there's more words. There's more words probably in the first 6 pages of this comic book than there is in an entire modern comic book. Now, because
Yeah,
what's happened now is that we have lost contact with the special language and syntax of comic books. There's no
yeah,
thought balloons. There's no meanwhiles. There's what we're doing now. People are doing film storyboards. They're just you
that's
flip
it.
through a comic. I like the current
Yeah,
Hulk, which I think is a lot of fun. And perhaps there's not too many words in that, but it takes me 5 minutes to read it. Whereas
yeah,
back in those days, when there wasn't so much competition for your eye,
yeah.
you had to make a comic book that would occupy a kid for 20 minutes,
I hadn't
right?
thought about that.
But
Yeah,
we're like what we are now. Like half the time, people just watch YouTube clips of 2 minutes. They don't actually watch the whole Seinfeld or the whole show or whatever, because that's going to take them half an hour. And because they've got too many competing choices, and it really has affected the way comic books are written and the way people experience them. So I kind of lament that, because I think a lot of the comics language that we're so used to has been lost in mainstream comics, and it's less value too. Like, you pay, what are you paying now?
that's the thing I was going to
New
pop in when
Zealand,
you
New
said
Zealand
like it's got
$9
5
for
minutes
a
to read.
comic, and it's 5 minutes to read it. It's like you're
Yeah,
getting ripped. But
yeah.
perhaps kids today, they just read them, and that's their attention span is so short. That's all they can handle. Like
But there is that
how
other
many
side
people
of the
read
coin,
books
which
now? They probably don't even finish them. They don't even start them. Like
so
it's.
there is the other side of the coin, which is comics are visual, and I've had this. It's a visual thing, so you shouldn't have so much
Sure.
words in it. But I'm
It's
like,
a
I
combination of
want
it.
value for money. So
Yeah.
there's a balance to it. So there's got to be a value for money. If you can read something that you pay $10 for, especially in Kiwis, right? $9, $10 for $12, depending on which book it is, because it fluctuates so much with DC. That's not value for money, because you should be
No.
able to get at least 15 minutes out of it. That's what it used to be like. You could read a comic book from the 90s
Oh yeah.
or
15, 20
2000s
minutes.
for
Yeah.
15 minutes. Yeah. So you
Yeah.
got your
Yeah.
$10 value, because that made
Yeah.
it valuable, because you were working for about, I was working for $6.50 an hour in '89, right?
Right. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and my comic was going to cost me about $4 or something. So I was paying
Wow, you're paying a
almost
lot of your.
my, yeah, right. So I need to get my value for money, and
You can't eat
that's the
You
way I
can't eat
feel
comic
with.
books, though. Aaron. You can't eat them.
No. But what I mean is like my entertainment, right? I got to be able to get
Some
my
people have tried.
entertainment value out of the
Hmm.
profit and wise. Not
Yeah.
profit wise, value, financial value out of it. And I kind of get saddened by the fact that it takes me, like you said, 5 minutes to go through a comic
Oh yeah.
book, and I'm like, I'd rather
What?
just now to get more out of it. I
Yeah.
just look at more of what's going on, artist wise, what the artwork is going, so I can get
Yeah.
out of it. Otherwise, it's not really giving me the value I need out of my comic.
You're
I'll just
already.
find something that is.
If I was DC corporate or Marvel corporate, I'd say, look, okay, we all understand what the role of comic books is in this giant conglomerate. No one cares about the creative stuff. It's there to point people to other stuff, right? So it's already a lost leader. That's how we understand it. Cut the price, halve the price, up the value of them. That's the way you'll get more readers. Like, give people more for their money and make them cheap. Because right now, who can afford them? People in their 20s and 30s and 40s. Where are the kids?
Yeah.
Boys,
That's
girls,
it.
whatever.
They're saying, we want new readers, but the new readers don't have the money.
Their business strategy is like, really, I don't think anyone's properly thought about it. Or if they have, all the advice has been ignored and they're just scared. No, it's got to pay its way. It's like, well, where's the strategy? It's all tactical, kind of like, we'll cancel that comic book because it's not making enough sales. It's like, halve the price. Put them in supermarkets again. Get them out to the people. Because fanboys like us in comic shops are not the future of comic books. They're just going to die.
So
there's only us left to go die.
Yeah, so here's 311, right?
Well, I've got that.
It says, I don't know what the value of that time was, but so let's have a look at this. So that's 311. This is 427.
I've got that too.
Right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So this is $1.50, right? So it's gone up $1.50 there. Now I'm going to go and try to get something equivalent of a modern one here. There's that one.
$3 or $4.99 now. It's creeping up to $4.99.
Yeah. So 600 is about issue 608 is 225. So when you look at it that way, but here's another one, right? So this is when I got into it. 3632, and that 632, they still stuck it at 225, right? So
But
it's kind of
they hide the price of them.
yeah.
They
And
hide the
so
price because they don't want you to know.
it's kind of it's kind of like, I mean, like that's the thing I have a problem with the prices when it comes to DC, is they don't have a standard 399 or a 299, and that's one thing that we do. It's like 399. Doesn't matter what it is,
Yeah.
it's 399, and
Yeah.
it's and the other thing, it's a cardboard prestige, because you can't beat DC or Marvel or the top 5 with with numbers, right? Being able to put a million of them out there and be able to come back and say, hey. So what you can do it is like put out quality. So your paper's good quality, your ink's not coming off on your fingers, your card, you have a cardboard cover, prestige, what they say, prestige card, and that way you have a really cool solid thing that you can hand to people, and it's 399, right? It's the US, that is. So it stays 399. And the other thing is that, Marvel tends to beat them at the pricing range because of that, because they're not jumping up and down. They're not trying to like say, well, this issue is $5, $299, and next one's going to be $399. And I find that really horrible when you come to, you've done your budget and you suddenly go there, oh, it's $3 more now, because if you look at, especially for Kiwis, a 499 book becoming 599 is like what, about another $3 or something like that, with the
$3 or $4.
with the
it'll
old,
be $12, $13, $14, and it's like, what kid is gonna, what child under the age of 20, or what teenager is going to be able to afford that when they could be spending it on other stuff?
They could basically just go get games now. Just save up for a couple of weeks and get a game. Pocket, save up your pocket money, and not even that. So
they need someone with imagination needs to go into DC business and go, or Marvel business and go, how are we looking out 10, 20, 30 years? How are we going to grow a readership more than we are now? Because nothing that we're doing is working. We're in like superhero saturation mode at the moment with massive movies and stuff, TV shows. That's not going to last. That's going to, people are going to get sick of it. The general audience is going to stop going to these aggressively. Even I can't watch them all. So what are we going to do to keep these properties alive, but that we currently own copyright because they're not in the public domain, and we've got, we pay high-priced lawyers to keep on extending the public domain, so we never have to share the profits or whatever. But like, what are we going to do? And there's no thinking. There's no observable thinking about that issue. They just think they can just keep doing the same thing all the time, which is a definition of madness. So
there is
they got to drop the price of them. They really do have to.
The thing is, I think they have too many cooks there, and not enough leadership. And you look at what happened with I think it was David, somebody who came into Vertigo who had no reason to be there, destroyed that company. That imprint. It was like, why did you bring this guy in? You had Shelley Bond, you had Karen Berger, you let Karen Berger go. I think she got fired or something, whatever. But like, she was there for 30 odd years, man. Like, she was the brains of that whole biz. She had her assistant as Shelley Bond. Then Shelley Bond took over. Then they got rid of Shelley Bond as well. And I'm like, you can see what happens when you get rid of old hats. You don't have good leadership, and your imprint dies. Because that imprint was a money maker. But what, the whole idea was that we don't own it, so we're not making that much of it. But you own DC Comics, right? All that, but you're not even making enough money there.
In the end, you're just best to focus on your own stuff and kind of search out more independent work. There'll always be Batman and Superman, at some level. Yeah. Most of it won't be very good, but some little bits of it. Batman 3, Jokers. I'm reading the long Halloween at the moment because my son wanted it, and I think
that is such a good book.
Really good. I mean, it's just streets ahead of anything that's being done right now. I read that It's
I
fantastic
think I read
work.
that mid 2000
Why
when
can't
it
there
came
be
out.
more of that on a regular basis? You know,
Yeah,
and again,
yeah,
it's because they have to keep out churning out product, and crossover miniseries, which are always almost
yeah,
terrible and really badly done. I was joking. I was going to say I've got to go in about 5 minutes,
yeah.
but
I was looking
I
at that
think
as well.
sometimes,
Yeah,
like, if we ever imagined ourselves, like working our way doing independent comics, and then they become successful and we get tapped on the shoulder by DC or Marvel, we'll probably find as you
yeah,
go into the writer's room, they'll go, oh my God, it's
yeah,
coming up to that point where they're going to decide who does the crossover series this year. You don't want to do
yeah.
that. It's
No,
death. It's dull. It's awful. And then
yeah,
they pass around a jar and you draw it. Oh, hey, Arrow has to write the Marvel crossover series. Oh my God. Good luck.
yeah.
See
I
ya.
can't imagine that. I actually, to be
Everyone would
honest,
hate it.
yeah.
All the writers would hate
When I
it.
thought
And
about when
they're
I
just awful. They're
when
just
I
awful.
yeah.
You know?
So when I thought about doing comics way back in 2007, when I just come out of film school, and this is what got I was talking to Daniel Way, who was writer on
Oh, yeah.
Wolverine Origin series. It was
Oh, really?
amazing.
Wow. Okay.
And so I was talking to him. I think it was on DeviantArt or on Facebook. I think it was DeviantArt, and we're talking, text, messaging each other. And I said to
Yeah.
him, "Hey man, I got this idea about this humongous crossover event, like just this humongous crossover event that's totally has this character, this character, and it's a Dark Horse and Marvel Comics crossover, and so it would never happen. It would never happen,
Mm.
right? Because it just the IPs and all that wouldn't happen. But I could create that now for myself with
Yeah,
my
for
own
yourself. Yeah.
character, right?
Yeah. That's
So
it.
I
Yeah.
do have a crossover coming up called the Age of Mayhem, which is like 5 odd years in the when I finish all my
That's
thing, it's the Age of
currently
Mayhem.
what's happening in the world right now. So
Yeah,
we're in the age
but
of
it's
mayhem
kind of
already.
like yeah, true. So I came up with that idea in 2019 or something like that, so that I could like build up to this worldwide event crossover for our own books, not
Yeah.
of because it'll sell or try to sell,
Mm.
but because I had a story in mind where I was going to go. When I'm building up to this, I'm going to bring all my different titles into this one
Yeah.
singular book. There's no sort of this here, 5 issues you got to go read there, 5 issues you got to read. No, no, no. This is all building to this one single point of maybe
Yeah.
12 issues, and that's the final of what it is. And then we'll go into the next phase. And it's kind of like what they don't do. Like what I loved for DC was Flashback. They dropped the ball on Flashback.
Right.
They did such an amazing setup, right? And they could have gone into the Flashback universes and all that, and that would have been the greatest things if they left those guys to do their thing. But no, we want Rebirth. We got to kickstart this all over again with
It's
no
always
idea,
issue
but we
number
got back
one
to
all
number
the
one.
time, isn't it? It's always issue number one all the time.
All right,
Uh,
so that's my end bit there. So I'm going to give you like a couple minutes to finish off here since you're going.
yeah, sure.
This
Yeah,
is
I've got to
yeah,
head off. I've been called by a higher power, otherwise known as my wife.
of
So,
course. There you go. Time
like
to cook dinner, I guess.
the survival purpose. Yeah, yeah. No, yeah. It's been good to be here, and I think it's always good to create some conversation about comics with local people and seeing what their perspectives are. I mean, the Batman from talking when you got me to talk about the Batman, he's always gonna be my top three characters. I got Shang-Chi at the top, but Batman and then Flash the same. Just because I think, like a lot of people who may be watching or who've thought about this, it's how you relate to the character, your own life experience, seeing that in there, perhaps idealizing some things that you really wanted to believe about yourself, and you see on the page, and that enables you to get from where you are now to that point, however you want to do it. And on the other side of it, I was a reader, now I'm trying to write comics. It's really about like using your own experience, not when you're too close to it, not when you want to cheat someone, but just let the experience come out in an interesting way. Get out of the way of your own creative self. Will flow forth. Well, that's what I'm hoping anyway. So yeah, hey, thanks to Aru for this opportunity to talk with him and talk to the audience. And I need to create more time to write comics rather than read them, and which
Awesome.
I'm doing. And I think that, like I say, that's the reward in itself of the creative experience. It isn't the money or the fame or however much that you get. It's communicating a story that's been on your mind or your heart or whatever that you think people will like. So that's me.
Awesome.
Signing out.
Yeah.
And see you
Thank
next
you,
time.
Michael. Thanks for joining us here on a Saturday.
Thanks, Aaron.
Thank you guys for joining us and watching this. And hopefully, you got something out of it. But we're always here to, talk about comics and stuff because we love it. Otherwise, we wouldn't be doing it. Otherwise we wouldn't be so passionate about it. And anything you love, you have a passion for. So I'm always like, I actually have a little, whoops, on this side. No, it's this side. I have this little area right over here, which is, right there we can see it. It's a glass thing there, which is actually the whole thing is filled with Batman stuff. And there's another one in front of me, which is the Batman toys. Batmobiles. And of course, there's a whole bunch of comics on my left here, and this little guy. So, at the end of the day, whatever you're passionate about, make something of it. You can criticize, but that's okay because you're passionate about it. And the other thing you got to remember is that not everybody's going to have your same viewpoint, and that's okay as well. And I think that's cool because we don't want people in echo chambers agreeing with everything you say. And that's why I like to have people come into our company that don't necessarily agree with me, but they have the energy and the passion about what we're doing. So it's a cool thing to be able to set this up because it allows me to bring in other people to work with who have more skills than I do. Like I said, I don't know nothing about Jack Kirby apart from the fact that he did a lot of amazing creativity. And so what was your I'll get you to put down your I'll put down the blog post that you have, but you're also going to be coming to write blogs, articles and reviews and stuff for plungecomics.com. So that's going to be cool. I'm looking forward to it because it just means that we have such a different variety of people doing it instead of you hearing my own voice all the time, remote things. So that's cool. And I'm looking forward to more people getting involved with us. And I think having more Kiwis come on board to do stuff. And I'm always putting out feelers and asking questions to people. Hey, would you like to do some coloring? Could you do this? Would you be interested in this? And 9 out of 10, I get a no. So, but that one time, or 1 or 2 times I get, it's cool because some of those people might come in later and go, we was watching you do this. But I think it's cool to have a different voice in what we're doing. So thank you, Michael. I appreciate you
thank you.
taking your time out for today.
No problem.
And thanks for talking to us about Batman because a lot of things I didn't know myself and and especially Kirby.
Yeah.
Awesome.
All right.
Thanks, dude.
See you later.
Thank you, everybody.
See you,
Ka kite anō.
Bye.
See you next
Bye.
time.